All right, so we're doing the 17 laws of indisputable laws of teamwork. And this is chapter 14 in the book, and it's on communication. So this applies everywhere. Communication is key, right? It's key to every relationship that we have, whether it's your husband, your kids, you're a leader in your church, whether it's our plexus business, your neighborhood. I think you're going to see, and probably already have. I don't know if you read ahead or if you're hopping on to get the overview, but as I went through this chapter, I listened to it. I read it on the plane, and I listened to it again today before this call. And I was just like shaking my head out there, walking, listening to this chapter. I know if anybody saw me, they're like, why is she shaking her head? But communication has to happen in order for anything to grow. And we want our relationship with our husband, our kids, all of the places I already named, and especially our Plexus business, either between our customers, our VIPs who are referring, our ambassadors that are growing to rank up to levels, all of those we need to communicate. And so, a lot of times, one of the oldest stories of all time, since the very beginning, the very first deception of Satan was you're not enough, right? In the Garden of Eden, he made Eve feel like she wasn't enough and she had to eat the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And so oftentimes that is, he uses that over and over in different forms too. And so many times when we stop and look at what's going on and what has us in either flight or freeze and why we're not making progress in the relationship is we feel like we're not enough. And so when we feel that way, we often want to go hide. Just like Adam and Eve, when they sinned, what did they do? They went and hid. And so that is in our nature. We also want to go and hide. And when we want to go and hide, what do we stop doing?
All the
A-
things.
Any per anything that we want, in our business, even in our home lives, we just get frozen. And because we hidden ourselves, you just crawl up in a ball, really. I
Mm-hmm.
do.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. And we stop communicating, right?
Oh yeah.
When you were a little kid and you went and played hide and seek, what went along with that? Shh. Don't talk.
Quiet.
Don't make any sound. So that's how we feel inside is we're like,
Hmm.
I'm not going to move. I'm not going to make a sound. But that is actually the opposite of what creates growth. And so underneath our title here, it says interaction fuels action. And so also, when we communicate, a lot of times we will start to feel like we're talking too much. Do you ever
Mm-hmm.
feel that way?
Say that again.
Yeah.
Interaction, what?
We'll feel interaction fuels action.
Fuels.
And so you'll start to communicate or you'll communicate to a certain amount and then your brain starts to say, you're talking too much. They don't
Yep.
want to hear it. They don't care.
Yep.
Or they're going to
Or
make
or I'm nagging them.
or I'm nagging them, or they're going to make fun of you. You better just stop. You better go hide. You better be quiet. But that again is the opposite of what creates growth. And growth isn't just in terms of money, but it's in terms of the relationships, the connections. We really want to create connections, and connections does lead to profit. It does lead to being able to help people. We want to serve our customers well, right? We want them to know about the new skin health system. We want them to know, like, they didn't get to go to convention with us. We want them to know all the things.
Right.
And so it's going to take communication, and communication is about repetition. So if you've ever listen to a teacher talk about communication, one of the first things a teacher is taught is repetition, repetition, repetition. And that is
Mm,
the same thing that we need in our business, because even if you're a diamond, top level of our company, you still need repetition, because your brain wants you to forget, wants you to grow up, be smaller, because it thinks it's keeping you safe. And we have to have repetition. There's something about just hearing it over and over that it becomes familiar, and familiarity breeds safety. Our brain feels more safe, and then we get into more action. When we hear something over and over, it normalizes it. Karen?
I find, especially with the business, because that's one thing that's rote, and going to church, I think, is not necessarily rote, but your subconscious, you'll have a conversation with yourself and you'll hear whatever you've taught me, Darlene, will come up. I'll hear it. And so the repetition is also what regurgitates when we're in flight or flight. And I'm not always good with that, but I hear certain things from the business. Oh, yeah, Emily said to do this. Oh, yeah, Darlene. Ah, that's right. Darlene told me this. But we'll hear it. But I think the repetition is still necessary so that it becomes more
Sticks.
quicker rather than an
Yes.
afterthought.
There you go. So it's like what we talk about with the path from the house to the barn. At first there's grass, there's no path. It's grown up. But then the first time you walk through, that grass, it gets bent, and if you look behind you, you get back to the house and you look at the barn again where you walked, it's bent that way, right? You can see more clearly the path, and so the next time you follow in your own footsteps, it's easier. There's less resistance. There's less The unknown is also scary for our brain. So, oh, I can see which way I went, and I didn't die, I didn't fall, I didn't break an ankle. I'm going to go that same way again. So then, as we keep walking that way, the grass dies out, it turns to dirt, it gets really patted down, it gets really smooth, and we have a clear, easier, like the resistance is gone, and our brain could do it in its sleep, right? You could just walk from the house to the barn in your sleep. And
Mhm.
so communication is that way. When we say the same thing over and over and over, then our brain can remember it. And even when we do go into fight or flight, something scares us, triggers us. Maybe we're having to remember in front of a room of 30 people, talking. Uh, it will be able to remember the things that we have practiced and said the most. So communication is something that does take practice. And we have, just like with everything else, we have to start out from where we are. And often it feels like, well, I'm just bad at this. But don't give up. Your brain may, again, try to tell you you're not safe, go hide, be quiet. But don't give up. Tell your brain, no, I'm okay. I'm okay. We're okay. That is a magic phrase. I'm okay. It's okay. It literally releases your nervous system to say that. So, we're going to get into what he shares with us. He starts out talking about Continental Airlines. And he talks about how this company was just going down, 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 down. And one of the big reasons why they were going down so bad, like their flights were never on time. Business people and vacationers never knew, is the plane coming on time? Is it leaving on time? Is it landing on time? Is that going to be working out really well for an airline that the planes are not following the schedule? No. So that was one bad thing. Um, and so they got a lot of complaints. The communication that came back was complaints. And Continental got almost 3 times as many complaints as the industry average, and more than 30% complaints than the ninth best airline, the runner up in the lousy service. So,
Wow.
one of the things that was going on is they had this very thick rule book. And all that was happening when they did communicate was uh, just, poo pooing on each other internally about the rules. And rules are good if they're lifting up the organization and creating some consistency. We read in another chapter about them establishing a flight checklist for the pilots, and that cut like almost out the crashes because the pilots finally had a checklist. That's a form of communication that they could follow. So all rules, all checklists are not bad, but in this case, it was like a thou shalt not book. And this is on page 195, about the middle of the page. Um, so they hired somebody new, and a new executive was hired, Bethune or Bethune. I guess Bethune is a better pronunciation. He was hired, and the first thing he did is he took that rule book and he dropped it in a metal garbage can, poured something over it, and lit it on fire. He just burned that thing up. He was like, "We are not going to, this is not going to be us." He was sending a clear message that everything at Continental was going to change. So that was the beginning of him establishing a communication culture. And I don't remember it saying this, but that makes me think about how criticism can be like a communication killer. There is a time when you have to have a hard conversation sometimes. But if you are a person who's constantly criticizing people, then that just has to stop. That's an area that I had to work on. I didn't even consciously realize that a lot of what I said or how I said it came across like, I thought I was helping. I thought I was helping them do things right or know the right thing. But it really came across as criticism. So we want to make sure that we're burning that in the trash can too, if that is part of what's going on in our communication culture. Any comments on this so far? Okay, so Continental didn't change overnight. In fact, as Butane and Brenneman laid out on their go forward plan, employees were skeptical. Okay, so people are just naturally going to be skeptical. And I don't know about you, but especially when I'm leading a group, if I feel that skepticism, it can be discouraging, a little bit daunting. You have to be confident, even if you don't know all the ifs, ands, or buts. If a lot of times things are a bit of an experiment, that's okay. You go forward with confidence and do your go forward plan. The leaders kept meeting with the people, committed themselves to being honest with them, and maintain their patience. I think this was a key as well. If the news was good, they said it. But if the news was bad, they also said it. And I think that's something I need to improve. Y'all probably remember I have done a board for us at the beginning of the month, that showed the team who had the most team points, who was the top person with team points, and I would have, all the places down, because in my back office, our virtual office, you can click on team points in your genealogy report, and it'll show you your team's team points. If they have helped one person, referred one person, when that person orders, those are called team points. And so they'll have team points under them. Dee Dee has 10 team points. So I want to give you some prompts on that. A lot of you here that are on my team, you have team points. And so that is really awesome because you get paid on team points. Every point is money. That's one of the ways we get paid. And so, but if the points would go down, sometimes I would be like, I don't want, to be discouraging, so I'm not going to share this time. But I think we do have to develop some things that it's like, I'm gonna share the news, good or bad, because this is a measuring tool. It's not about making people feel bad. It's about This is where our team is. If we just finished up going for the Ruby rank, why did we not hit it? It's important for us to look as a team at, well, what did we do right and what do we need to change? And it's there's no shame in that. It's communication, and communication mean when we do communication, then we can make changes and we can grow, right? And so that is, I think that is a big key here that I'm taking away from this part of our book. That if the news was good, they told the people. If the news was bad, they still told them. And so I'm underlining that. And if you're listening to your Audible, you can click the little save flag. Um, did y'all know in Audible there's a little driving mode? I like to put it in driving mode even when I'm on a walk. If you click this flag, it'll save 30 seconds. So that and then you can go to your saved clips and just play that. And so it's really nice as when you're listening to a book to save parts you want to listen to again.
Maybe you can go over that later. I know that you're recording, but I would appreciate to
Yeah.
understand more. I didn't quite get it, but thank
Oh,
you.
it's in your Audible. When you
Okay,
look
so
at your book, like this
yes.
in regular mode, there's a car at the bottom,
Okay, let me
and
turn
it's
mine
called
on.
car
So
mode. Car
car
mode.
mode, got
And
it.
you click on that, and it just makes what's really important big. So you can click save, and it'll save a little 30-second clip, or you can click rewind it 30 seconds. I want to listen to that over again.
I never knew that.
Yeah, yeah. So
Okay,
I
cool.
use that even when I'm on a walk because,
Yes,
you're out there
yes.
flipping. It's hard to hit the little buttons. It makes the buttons big.
Thank
So I
you.
saved that part when I was listening. All right. So then they put up bulletin boards in every employee area that showed two things: their ratings for the last year, according to the Department of Transportation rating guidelines, and two, daily news updates from the company. They created a weekly voicemail message to everyone on the team. They also put lots of communication in writing using a monthly employee newsletter called Continental Times and Continental Quarterly, which they mailed to every employee's home. So we have our Ignite team chat, which is for our customers. Usually in there, I put when our 10-10-10 call is. I'll put the link so that you get a reminder, you know where it is, where to go. And that 10-10-10 call is another way that we communicate because we do 10 minutes of product education. We have a guest testimony and we have for 10 minutes, and then we do just a little bit about the business. The beginning of the month, I usually talk about the incentives, like the free things Plexus is going to give you when you refer someone, any cash prizes they're giving out that month. And then sometimes I'll let our guests bleed over into that 10 minutes and share how they've referred people and like the benefits they've gotten and how did they get started doing that and why are they still doing that and things like that. So that's another way that we communicate. That 10-10-10 call on Tuesday night at 7:30 Central is a real important part of how we communicate as a team. I put the recording of that. Usually, sometimes I do forget, but my intention is to put it in Living My Best Life with Plexus. That's another place where we communicate. We share the 5 healthy habits. And then we also do some recognition when people refer someone, when they have a rank up, when they earn a prize. We do challenges in there. So we've got a skin health challenge that's going to start next month. And so that is a real important place to add people, even if they haven't ordered yet, put them in Living My Best Life with Plexus because that way you don't have to be the expert. They can learn about the products and hear product stories, read product information posts, and learn slowly in their own time. And you don't have to do all the educating of them yourself. So that's an important place we communicate. The rally chat, we have a special chat that every day I post in there. Well, just about every day, I'm human, but every day, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, what to post, what to put in your story, I give you some slides that you can just put up in your Facebook story. I put what to say. So I give you a message that you can send your friends. So you don't have to think of what to say. And we have a what to learn. And it's a really short, sometimes it's just a quick reel. Sometimes it's a graphic that shows you how to find something, just like the car mode on your Audible. That could be a clip inside our rally chat. So it makes listening to your book easier. So we have that comes out 5 days a week so that it makes it really easy to refer people, and you don't have to think of, well, what should I post? What should I say? What should I put in my story? What do I need to learn today? That's all done for you. So those are places that we communicate. Is there any other places that you think of or you have questions about or you think would be good if we started it? Karen?
Um, First of all, people that don't know me, I am sidelined to Darlene and very blessed by Darlene. Um, um, are you doing something for Icon with Icon? Is that
In the
um,
rally chat, yes, and I've
in the
made
rally
some
chat?
videos this week on YouTube. So I made
Okay,
a video and I posted it in the rally chat of how to develop a new senior silver. A senior silver is when 10 people order in the same month.
I
So
am
with
so
that,
blessed
I've
right now.
already made another video that I haven't put in the chat yet of how, like, if you're not developing silvers, which is when 3 people order with you, if that hasn't happened yet, maybe some reasons why and some things you could change. So
Okay,
that's going to come out soon. So the rally chat is where I'm coaching to help
okay,
you become Icon Club, which is something they released at convention to basically incentivize us more to help 10 people order and help 2 people also help 10 people order. And when we've done that, then we'll be a member of the Icon Club. And there's like 6 different things that we're going to get. It's pretty cool. We'll get free tickets to the next convention, free tickets to our January event called Super Saturday. We will get let's see, I screenshot it last night when he was talking about it. He's
I
got
did too.
more trainings that are coming up. I'm so excited. We get free shipping on all orders of $150 or more for the rest of 2025 and all of 2026.
Yeah,
And we will be, if we're in the first 800 to hit that, we'll be in the Founding Icon Club and get a gift, a Founding Icon gift. We'll get exclusive recognition at events. We'll be enjoying reserved seating at 2026 convention. And we'll get an invitation to the Icon Party at 2026 convention.
and that's only for the first 800.
No, anybody in Icon Club, but the founding Icon Club, the founding members is considered the first 800 people to hit it.
Oh, okay,
So, yeah,
okay.
so that's going to be exciting. Great thought, Karen. Anybody else have another thought on communication? All right. So then he talks about some other things that they did. They created an 800 number hotline for questions and information. And basically, they succeeded. They succeeded, and their profits went up from where they had lost 204 million and 94, and then in 95 they made a profit of 202 million. So the next year it doubled. And as of April 2001, Continental has posted 24 consecutive profitable quarters in an industry where many of its competitors are struggling to stay in the black. And the airline industry is still an industry that struggles to stay in the black. It's expensive to fly. It's expensive to operate and run an operation that's about flying. But we're so thankful they do it. Personally, I love to fly. It's just so much quicker and a lot of times easier. And I'd rather spend my time with people and there than on the road. That's just me. All right, so what's in a word? Page 197. Communication wasn't the entire reason for Continental's success, but without good communication, the company most likely would have continued on autopilot right into its third and final bankruptcy. Creating positive change in an organization requires communication. Interaction fuels action. That is the power of the law of communication. So it says in the little box right here, it says effective teams have teammates who are constantly talking to one another. And it did make me think in our rally chat. I really want to encourage you again, and it's that's not a shaming thing, but communicate in there. That is there for you to not only grab the content, but then through the day to say, hey, I got my 5 messages sent. Our goal, our base goal is to send 5 Plexus Ask, 5 a day. If you haven't ever sent a Plexus Ask, your goal is one. Just one. Just who are you messaging today? And as you do one, and as you get into our system and you learn um, the things that I teach to help make it so much easier. Not that it's easy, but you will know what to do. And then, secondly, if you're wanting to be consistent and you're on my team, then you can also say, hey, I want a weekly coaching call. I want to be able to talk to you and say, hey, this is where I'm stuck. I'm not getting this done. And we'll figure out together what your red light story is or what is hanging you up so you can actually get past it and get into action again. So that's communication too, right? And I'm committed to communication. That's why I consistently show up every week for coaching calls, individual coaching calls. I'm consistently on the 6:30 a.m. IPA call, income producing activity call, where I'm there to answer questions and work with you. And then every week we have an hour call, Ignite IPA Power Hour, where I do 30 minutes of teaching and we do 30 minutes of work. And so if there's suggestions that you have on things you need that aren't happening or changes you see that need to happen, I want to hear it. I want to be approachable. I want you to know you're welcome to say, hey, this is what's going on, but could we do this instead? Or could you add this? I need this and I don't have it yet anywhere. Can we do this? So always let me know. I'm still learning, I'm still improving too. And I don't do all of this perfectly. Yesterday I didn't get all the messages posted in the rally chat. And I apologize for that, but normally it's there, right? And you would have been free to say, "Hey, where's the content today? I need that." So communication back and forth and dropping in there what you did. That was the one of the points I wanted you to hear from me today is as you get the content and you get into action. I love to hear like, hey, I did my birthdays. I sent 5 Plexus Ask. I did 5 follow-ups. One person joined. Woohoo! So we want to communicate back and forth in the rally chat. Um, any other, any comments, any thoughts from what we're talking about here? Anybody? Karen?
I am again so grateful to be here. Going to convention and got to meet Jessica and in person. Um, you, Darlene, are one who's you communicate very well. Nina and I just partnered up to be accountability partners. We're sidelines, and we're sidelines to Darlene. So I have found just in the last 2 to 3 days how vital communicating with her is, and it's already changing how I'm looking at business. And being accountable is just the fact that she picks up my calls and she'll talk to me. And it's forcing me to not shh. It's forcing me to speak. I just, Darlene, you're just a huge blessing, and Jessica, so are you, and so are you, Nina. And Dee Dee.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know you, Dee Dee, but you're a grandma who loves those grandbabies, so I know you're a blessing too. I just wanted you guys to know I'm so grateful to be a sideline to this amazing team and for God putting Darlene in my life. And she communicates so well in so many ways. And yeah, I just wanted to say that. This is a great chapter coming out of convention. This is so good.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways,
Thank you,
So
Karen.
when, hey, darling, when you say a Hey Amanda message, what
Yeah.
is that? Can you say that to me? What it is?
Yeah, and
Real quick.
I'm glad to put it in the chat, like the PL where you are. Uh,
Okay.
that 6:30 a.m. call chat. I can put it
Okay.
in. But yeah, I just send it over and over and over and over and it works. I'll pull it
Okay.
up in my notes. I just always copy it out of here. Let's see. I have it saved under 5 a day. 5 a day. Hmm.
Sorry about that.
Here it is, 5 a day. So I say, hey, Amanda, I don't know if you've ever seen me posting about my gut health stuff that's helped me, XYZ. You put your things. It helped me lose 6 sizes, significantly lessen my sugar cravings, help my mood, get rid of brain fog. I sleep better and have tons of energy. Anyway, not sure if you've ever seen any of my posts, but was wondering if you would be open to hearing more about it for yourself. What are your thoughts? And so I send that a lot. Today I sent a little bit different one to a guy. Um, and I said, let me see, I just changed it a little bit. I said, we've met before, but I know you have lots of friends, so I wanted to stop by here and ask if you've noticed any of my posts about the supplements I take that give me energy and health for kingdom work. He's a preacher. I said, I love what you're doing and would like to support in any way I can. What health goals are you most excited about right now? So he's seen it. He didn't answer yet, but he saw it real early in the morning. So he might have still been in his morning time. So I'll go back and I'll say, hey, what are your thoughts? Um,
I like that
so
one.
yeah, those
That's a
are
good
the
one.
two. And I sent that to two different guys today. I just copied that one over again and there's a guy that I knew as a boy growing up. He was around my oldest daughter's age, and they have a new baby. So I said, congratulations on your new baby. Walker's such a cutie pie. I want to support you and Marlena in any way I can. I wondered if you've seen any of my posts I've shared about working on your health and been curious if what I have could help. Do you have any health goals you are wanting more support in right now? I have options in postpartum care or more energy because I'm thinking what his wife needs, what most men want, more energy. Thoughts. So I sent that to him. So I can put those three in the
Yeah.
PL and in the rally.
Hey,
So that
Darlene,
you can copy them and tweak them for your people.
I know this isn't a coaching call per se, but can I just ask a quick question? Then you can tell me we can talk about it later. Um, if I have not been posting, so I had the grandkids, I use that as the excuse, and then convention, whatever. I have not been posting, and
Mhm.
so I can't say that. And so, what would you suggest I
Well,
say?
in their feed though, if they go to your wall, they're going to see what you did post before you got
Okay,
distracted.
bye, Dee Dee.
Yeah, they're still going to see what you posted. So I
Okay,
would still say that. And I
okay,
love how honest you are. But yeah, they're still, when they go to, because what's the first thing they're going to do when they read?
scroll
They're going
through.
to go to your wall. They're going to hit, because when you message someone, they can, if especially if you haven't messaged very much at all yet, it's very easy with somebody like that to see the top, be at the top Okay,
Okay.
so at the top, it has view profile. So
Right. Oh, right.
they're gonna click you, view profile, Karen, and they're gonna go see, well, what has she posted lately? What or last? Even if it's not, if it's 2 weeks old, that's fine. But they're gonna
Okay.
say, well, what did Karen post last?
Okay.
And they're
Okay.
gonna be like, oh, scripture, health tips. This is the second post. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Okay.
watch that a minute. You've got
Okay.
Push One t-shirt on. Doctors know more than my body. So yeah,
Emily told us
it's
to
still
always
true.
always do the
It's still
opposite.
true.
Okay. Okay. All
Yeah, you
right.
even got where you were at convention. So you've posted.
Okay.
You're hard on yourself, girlfriend. Okay.
Okay. Back to the
Does
chapter.
that help?
Yeah.
Yes, very much. Thank you.
Good, good. When people don't communicate effectively, the result can often be comical. Years ago, I came across the following illustration that conveys what I mean. It is made up of a series of memos on a college campus. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of memos that he goes over in the book. And a lot of them are like very similar, but just a little bit different depending on who posted the memo. And it says Scott Adams, the creator of the Dilbert comic strip, has masterfully described an organization where everyone does his best to undermine communication. The boss sends an employee to work for a year on a project that has been canceled, then later demotes the person for wasting so much time. Members of the marketing department continually think up harebrained products and promote them in public, then ask the engineers to produce them on an impossible timetable. The higher up in the organization people are, the more clueless they are. Thinkers are punished, the lazy are rewarded, and every decision is arbitrary. The comic strip is hilarious. What's sad is that too many American workers identify with it. If you've ever been on a team where teammates never let one another know what's going on, then you know how frustrating poor communication can be, right? Ooh, yeah, I can feel that one. The team gets stuck because nobody knows what the real agenda is. Important tasks remain uncompleted because each of two team members believes the other one is taking care of it. Has that ever happened at your house? I mean, even leaving a child behind at church. I thought the child was with dad, and dad thought the child was with mom, and you're like, where's Joe? I've left Don before because I thought he had his car and I forgot he rode with me. Oh, me, yeah, these kind of things happen. But it says the team gets stuck because nobody knows what the real agenda is. Important tasks remain uncompleted. Departments within the organization fight because each believes it's being sabotaged by the other. And it's just human, it's the human element and establishing communication. So, in the book Empowered Teams, authors Richard Wellens, William Byam, and Gene Wilson state communication refers to the style and extent of interactions both among members and between members and those outside the team. It also refers to the day that members handle conflict, decision making, and day to day interactions. So, a different picture of communication. An excellent example of the complexity and importance of good communication can be seen by watching a professional football team in the half minute prior to a play. When one play ends, the offensive team has only 40 seconds to get itself ready for the next play. In that time, the quarterback first decides if there's enough time for the team to huddle. If there is, he calls the team members together and gives them the play. If there isn't, he communicates that he will call the play using a code at the line of scrimmage. For many plays at the professional level, the team will line up with players in one formation and then move them forward before the play to try to confuse the defense. If time is short, the quarterback will communicate to the players that they should skip the extra steps and just line up in the formation that will be used to run the play. So communication has to happen in sports, especially, I mean, any sports, football, basketball, hockey, soccer, that it's so important that the team captain or the quarterback, um, the a lot of times the goalie is the one who's kind of giving signals to the forward, the centers, and the ones at the back, and they have to communicate with each other. Like Joe used to play soccer, and they have to yell, "Got it!" So they don't just bang heads or bang shins and things like that. It says one player may simply point and communicate a lot of information to another teammate, and sometimes a quarterback and a receiver will just give each other a look and communicate enough information to make it possible for them to score on the play. So, communication on your team, it says, and this is page 201. Communication on your team may not look anything like what happened on a football field, but the success of your team and the ability of your team members to work together are just as dependent on good communication. Allow me to give some guidelines that will help your team to improve in this. Every team member has to learn how to develop good communication in 4 areas. So, from leader to teammates, that's one area. And it says inside of that, be consistent, be clear, and be courteous. I think it's so important to show respect, and we've already done the law of respect. No matter what the position, what kind of history you might have with that person, by being courteous to your people, that sets a tone for the entire organization. And it's just one reason I think it's so important that we not slander upline, downline, sidelines. Just don't spend time complaining about, if you have a need that's not being fulfilled, think about, can you express that need without talking about why you don't have it related to your upline. A lot of time can be wasted on calls, sometimes with people venting about uplines failures or downlines failures. And we just don't have to go there. It doesn't create growth. It's poison. A long time ago, years ago, in another business, one of my first, bigger network marketing businesses with great training systems, a diamond in that said that negative communication is poison. You are tearing your own house down. There's a scripture about tearing your own house down. And if why work so hard to build your team up, recruit, build vision, and then talk negative about your upline, your downline, just don't do it. Don't do it. If you have a need, express it and skip the venting, skip the negative talk. Um, the next thing is from teammates to leader. So good team members never want yes men. They want direct and honest communication from their people. Even autocratic movie mogul Sam Goldwyn quipped, "I want my people to speak up and be honest, even if it costs them their jobs. I've always encouraged people on my team to speak openly and directly with me. When we hold meetings, they are often brainstorming sessions where the best ideas win. Often a team member's remarks or observations really help the team. Sometimes we disagree. That's okay because we've developed strong enough relationships that we can survive conflict. Getting everything out on the table always improves the team. I never want to hear a teammate say, I could have told you that wouldn't work, or you know it beforehand. If you know it beforehand, that's the time to say it. So, besides directness, the other quality team members need to display when communicating with their team or with their leaders is respect. So, that is super important, and I think we already covered. Respect needs to be going all the directions, whether it is from the teammates to their leader or the leader to their teammates. And then, thirdly, among teammates. So Charlie Brower remarked, few people are successful unless a lot of other people want them to be. And I thought that was very well said and applicable to our network marketing business. And I think that is really important on our Ignite team. For us to rank up to Ruby, we all have to be pulling in the same direction. We all have to be praying in the same direction. We all have to be believing in the same direction. If we're allowing ourselves to have doubts and be negative and wallow in that, it's not just you. Your energy is affecting the whole team. The things that you do show up for encourages the team. If you don't show up, you're missed. When you do your messages, maybe your brain is like, nobody will know if I just skip this today. Yes, it manifests. We can tell when you have successes, we're cheering you on. We're not shaming you, but it's felt. It's felt. So it is very, very important for everyone to be thinking about success for the goal, for the team goals that we have, and then individually working on your own success and being vulnerable to say, this is my area of struggle. I need help. And so that is a way to be successful and be pulling for that success all in the same direction. It says, in a team that desires to experience success, all team members must communicate for the common good. That means exhibiting the following qualities: be supportive. Former NBA player Irvin Magic Johnson summed up support by paraphrasing President John F. Kennedy, and we just saw his museum. Wow. Ask not what your teammates can do for you, ask what you can do for your teammates. Communication that is focused on giving rather than getting takes the team to a whole new level. Staying current. Teammates who rehash old problems and continually open old wounds don't work together. And if they don't work together, they're sunk. As Babe Ruth remarked, you may have the greatest bunch of individual stars in the world, but if they don't play together, the team club won't be worth a dime. Being vulnerable. Teams are like little communities, and they develop only when the people in them don't posture with one another. In his book, The Different Drum, psychiatrist M. Scott Peck observes, if we are to use the word community meaningfully, we must restrict it to a group of individuals who have learned how to communicate honestly with each other, whose relationships go deeper than their mask of composure. I think that's one of the most beautiful things about going to convention together and spending that week together like we do. The masks are off. We see each other in
Mm-hmm.
pajamas. We hear each other snore. We, share food. We jump up and down. We're giving each other looks, down the seats, about, oh, did you hear that? We're looking at each other's notes. Did you get that? I missed it. We're,
Mm-hmm.
sharing each other's skincare products and, you know, spraying stuff in the bathroom after the other person pooped. Like, it is very close quarters and the masks are off, the composure's gone. And same thing when we host a retreat. We have a retreat in the fall, Ignite Retreat. And, we get together, we cry, we realize how we need to grow, where we share a meal, we make that effort to show up, get our kids a babysitter or get our husbands, to calm down so we can get out the door. It is a time when we are coming together as a team and interaction fuels action. So coming together and being vulnerable with each other helps us to interact and get into that action that has to happen for us to reach our goals. So he says also between the team and the public. And I think this comes into play when we are posting. So, it's okay for like today, I'm on my story in my nightgown. I'm making my pink drink in my nightgown, no makeup, my headscarf still on. We have to show up how we are. who we are. I'm showing up sweaty, red faced from my walk. And then I think that helps people to believe they can do it too. Because then if I'm dressed up, for Christian women in business, or I'm dressed up, for retreat as a speaker, or I'm dressed up for church and I take a picture with my family, or to go out on the town or a date night, they see a balance, and they're not just like, oh, well, she's only dressed up. She only shows up when she's dressed up, and everything looks all, polished, and she's got her filters on and her makeup on and her hair done. Like, I can't do that. That's most women would say that's just not me. And so it really is important with the public to show up and be vulnerable, and through that, you're communicating a loud message. You can do this too. Um, any comments about these four things as we wrap up? There's one last story in here about taps for the prisoners. Who did anybody get a chance to read the chapter before we hopped on the call? This chapter I've heard it, but this story I've heard it before. This was not my first time, and I actually was talking about this with someone in the last few days after reading it again. I think oh, I know who it was. I went to a special ladies Bible study Tuesday night, and she was teaching us about memorizing scripture. And I thought of this story because it's about the POWs and how they were taken captive. And the one of the people there who had been there said, just get in your mind you're going to be here 2 years. And when you have that in your mind and you accept it, you're going to be fine. You're going to make it. You are going to make it. You can do this. And they developed a way to communicate that was tapping. It sounded like woodpeckers. They would tap, and they could get caught and they could get in trouble and be punished. But it said that it was worth it. They had to communicate because isolation is the worst form of abuse. And we learn that in recovery world as well. Isolation is the worst form of abuse. And so they had to do it. They had to do it to survive. And so they would tap, and they talked through tapping all the time. And what ended up happening is it was not just 2 years for some of them. It was two more, and then two more, and then one man was there 7 years, and he did make it. And so the communicating through the tapping is what helped them. And it says that finally in January of 1973, a ceasefire was signed in Paris that made provision for the release of the American POWs. They began coming home on February 12th, and on March 29th, the last prisoner left Hanoi Hilton. In all, 462 prisoners were released. That number might have been far fewer if they had not found and fought for a way to communicate with one another. But interaction fuels action, and their connection with one another fueled their ability to endure and to hold together as a team. That's the value of the law of communication. So, in closing, on the very last page, it says ultimately, poor listening leads to hostility, miscommunication, and a breakdown of team cohesion. Give yourself a 360-degree review. Ask for feedback concerning your listening skills from your boss or mentor, your colleagues, your subordinates, your team. And if you don't get high marks from all of them, then quiet down, listen up, and work to become a better communicator. Any closing thoughts that you want to share as we wrap up today and hop off?
I just want to add what you said about the prisoners. I got to actually physically, personally interview POW. And I totally agree with you. They're camaraderie and their minds. They would teach each other in breaks when they had yard time. They taught each other college level classes. Um, they would play golf in their brains. That our mindset and what we do with our mind is important. What you have stored, the data that you have stored in your mind. Red light stories I know are totally not good. And if you're in that predicament, I mean, those men at least had other options for what was stored there, versus like this and what we do with it. Anyway, it's very enlightening when you hear about somebody who has nothing and uh, like he had no handles on doors, and so it took him a while to remember they have a doorknob. They ate banana soup, not because they had bananas, they had the peels and they would boil the peels. And then he said, man on the moon and, stuff like that, like things that would be common communication. Sorry, not man on the moon, but he felt often like he had to explain to people, I have no idea what you're talking about. These many years of my life were gone. I don't know what you're talking about.
So it's
Anyway,
like being on another planet.
yeah, yeah,
Mm.
totally. So
Yeah,
communication
even
is,
deploying, that's one of the things that the soldiers struggle with is when they get back, things have happened
oh,
and they were completely submerged into their mission,
you're
and
right.
they come back and they can't remember things. Don said he could not remember how, like, any of the extensions. He used to know them all by heart.
Yeah,
And when he went back to working in the office, the same office he left, he couldn't remember any of them anymore. He had to relearn that.
yeah. You
So
have to
just
dump
things like
information.
that, people have a hard time understanding just how disorienting it is. And if you were mistreated and abused and you had trauma and plus you were gone, then your brain really does forget and blocks things off to
Right.
protect you and help you survive.
Right.
So
So,
that it is. I think this was an excellent chapter. I would definitely mark it as one to reread. And communication is hard. It almost brings me to tears. Because sometimes those red lights thoughts are really loud as a team leader, that does this matter? Am I talking too much? Am I sharing too much? Do people really want to hear this? And all those red light stories can be pretty loud. And so just continuing to show up and be like, I'm going to communicate. I'm going to share, and then they can take it or leave it. And
right,
I have to think of the one who's hungry. I have to think of the one who is going for Icon Club. I have to think of the one who does want to rank up to gold, and not give in to the discouragement of anyone who's like, I don't want to hear it. So thank
where's
y'all
the
so
recording
much
usually
for
at?
joining.
Where's the recording usually at?
Oh, I do put it in the rally chat
Okay,
where
okay,
you are
thank you,
now.
thank
And
you.
you're welcome to share that.